A face, a fleet, a war, a man, a thought, a trip. And welcome to the Real Riff podcast, because you're about to take an Odyssey with us as we talk all things Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. My name is Bill Markey.
My name's Tommy Angelo.
And we are here to discuss one of the blockbusters of the summer, that's for sure. It's going to have a little bit of competition in a couple weeks from another Tom Holland movie. But as of right now, it's reigning supreme, The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's epic adaptation of Homer's classic follows the Greek hero Odysseus on a perilous journey home after the Trojan War, encountering gods, monsters, and treacherous seas, while his family faces turmoil in Ithaca. This movie, shot entirely in IMAX, first time ever, with a star-studded cast led by the one and only Matt Damon. As of this recording, the movie hasn't even been out for 1 week yet, and we have not spoken about The Odyssey at all. We were saving it for this conversation.
Yep.
So what did you think of this 2 hour and 52-minute epic?
I was actually I think you should start.
Okay. All right. Well,
I need a minute to process my thoughts after you doing that corny ass Travis Scott thing.
How dare you? So I loved it. I am a Christopher Nolan guy. I've seen all of his movies except for his first movie, Following, which I'm excited. I got to get around to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought on the rewatch, it was even better. This movie is more rewarding the second time around. I plan on seeing it a third time on 70 millimeter IMAX, God willing. And this movie is just what you define as an epic. It's a large cast. It's gigantic set pieces. It's just, it's almost like too much to take in the first sitting. You're like, God, I have to see this again. Like, it's nearly a 3-hour movie, and I've told anybody I've spoken to about this film, you don't feel, in my opinion, the 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was locked into this movie. This is, in my opinion, the reason why we go to the movies. It's a beautiful looking film. The cast is amazing. You have somebody like Matt Damon who eats a lot of screen time, and then you have somebody like John Leguizamo, who's in probably 10 minutes total, who dominates. Even like Logan Marshall Green coming in for a couple scenes, or when Lupita Nyong'o, it's like everybody who pops in, whether they're in it for 2 minutes or they're in it for the near 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I think the entire cast delivers. Really, the reason why I loved it, it was just gripping. The whole time I was so just on the edge of my seat with this film. Even when characters are just talking and there's scenes of long dialogue, like I was never bored during this film.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it's the cast that really got me. I love watching a Nolan movie with such a big cast, and you're just watching some big actors who are only in his movies sometimes for 5 minutes. But it's so cool if you think about Cillian Murphy, and he started as the Scarecrow in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And then look at where he ends up in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, like, are we going to see Tom Holland in an epic Chris Nolan movie in 15 years? Just using him as an example, not saying him literally. So it's interesting to see just who he picks to put such an amazing, diverse cast together. I just thought there's, again, some spoilers alert right off the bat. The Trojan horse scene is a scene that I will just remember as a movie scene, just in general, that stands out in my mind. Like when I think about my favorite scenes in movies, period, like this will go up there. You could feel the practicality, in my opinion. That's another reason why I love this movie. Like that Cyclops, who's played by Bill Irwin, who also did Tars and Interstellar. I feel like you can just reach out and like touch it. Like his skin looks so real. Even Samantha Morton coming in, and Nolan delivers us a little bit of a horror movie when they go to Cersei, and like there's just scenes of hope, dread, horror. I mean, this movie, it gave me a few laughs. It's not really funny, but I did go through every emotion that you can go through in a film. And last but not least, I'm sure more thoughts will come out as we talk. Again, it has another one of those scenes where when the movie builds up to the third act, that last 45 minutes is so rewarding. And not because you had to sit through an overly long film. When it gets to that scene where he's basically Batman or John Wick, that was just one of those, this movie has rewarded me. And I think he ends this movie beautifully. And it gives you so much to think about. And to see Damon in such a physical but mental role, and literally the double meaning of the Odyssey, from a physical journey to what he goes through as a man and whatnot, and how you can bring it back to contemporary times, not just because they're using contemporary language, but you can relate it to what's going on today. And just the idea, and then I'll stop, that this movie also comes down to how you treat people, how you allow somebody into your home, and the respect that you're supposed to show them, which I'm sure you know what I mean, but just going by, some of the scenes and like
Zeus's law.
Zeus's law and
Yeah.
whatnot. Exactly. And just the idea of that. It's like, well, it's like how people question God. It's like it just brings in all these different tones. And I feel like there's a never ending conversation about this film. And I'm thinking, I don't want to say for sure, but I feel like, God, this might be Nolan's best movie. I don't know. I'm not saying it's my favorite. It's up there. It's probably that and The Dark Knight, Interstellar, somewhere in there. But this might be my favorite Nolan movie. I mean, I don't know how many more movies we have ahead of us like this, but like this movie is just rare nowadays to get something like this. And that's another reason why I think I loved it so much. And your feelings, sir?
I want to break it down in a few chunks because
Okay.
it's so big. So first I want to talk about filmmaking because I think that's kind of why we're here. I think filmmaking wise, it's what like brings in the most Nolan heads. You know what I mean? I think like regardless within our community that we operate within, people are most excited because this is a Christopher Nolan film. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, coming off Oppenheimer, I feel like that was a movie that I walked out of, and I think like filmmaking wise, it combined every element of the filmmaking process weaved together so perfectly and weaved together thematically and character wise. And that's why when I walked out of that movie, I was like, wow, I just watched like a masterpiece because this, like they have masterpieces before it, Godfather, The Shawshank Redemption, all these things. Not only does it weave in all the aspects of the filmmaking process into its plot, into its like thematic storytelling, but it's bigger than that. And I think, when you have a movie as big as this, like words like masterpiece and such can be thrown around, especially because, people are leaving it being like, wow, I just saw a Chris Nolan film. Everything's practical. It was made at the highest level, this, and that. And when you look at the sequences in the Odyssey sequentially, I mean, if you look at it like the Cyclops scene, the Circe scene, all of them are in a way their own little like short films. And that's even how Homer's The Odyssey, like the epic poem operates. It operates in little episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just did my Letterboxd review for this movie today purposely because I wanted to have all of my thoughts kind of coalesce before like I went into this conversation. And one of the main things I put was like filmmaking wise and sequentially, this movie's masterful. In that when you look at all of those little short films, these little episodes in the Odyssey, like they are put together at the highest level possible. The Circe scene, like none of that CGI, that's all, happening actually there. And it really immerses you. And especially if you're even in the highest level of like IMAX or IMAX 70 millimeter, it's just immersive. You know what I mean? And I think that's really something to give this movie props for is like filmmaking wise, there were guys out there lugging around these IMAX 70 millimeter cameras on these actual Greek islands where there's actual real hazards and things can go wrong really badly. These actors can trip and fall and break something. But
they went through 2 million feet, I believe it was, of film.
Yeah, it's just incredible how they made this movie. And I think, it reminded me of when I was watching Babylon recently. And like in Babylon, it shows you like how back in the day, like they were just making movies like just like that. They actually had sword fights and people were actually dying. And I think like this is the most reminiscent of that time period we're ever going to get in terms of filmmaking is a guy like Nolan is like the only trusted person in Hollywood that they're going to fly out to these Greek islands and let him play with his toys there, with whatever monetary expense necessary. And I think the product, which is this film, is like what we get for that, you know, is like our reward for being like for fandomizing this guy so hard as we get movies like this that are like reminiscent of like filmmaking in like the 30s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's really cool. And that's a really rare thing for us to get to see. And I mean, if you want to go from cinematography to the sound mixing, I mean, this movie's thumping. The Cyclops scene, like the roar that the Cyclops emits when it gets stabbed, is like almost like nothing like I've ever heard before, and it was so terrifying. And then the stretching noises of the face in the Circe scene was terrifying. And then how even the sound mixing itself is used as a vehicle for immersion in the siren scene when, you know, you're put in the perspective of his men and you're watching Odysseus face this, but like you're not in Odysseus's perspective, you're in his men. And I also think, you know, POV wise, I think a lot of us, you know, went into this film thinking that it was going to be you know, the journey of Odysseus through Odysseus's POV, kind of like Oppenheimer, and how big perspective was in Oppenheimer in terms of like whose point of view are you watching the story in, and how does that sort of like narrative and like narrator, like is that a reliable narrator in a sense? But this movie, you don't really know what perspective you're watching it from. It's kind of told from this third person point of view where you're kind of on the outside looking in to all these people, and there's no true like narration. Whereas, you know, in Oppenheimer, I mean, Nolan himself wrote that script first person, and it was such an introspective movie. And I think Nolan tries to do a lot of that same thing here. I mean, I think in a lot of ways you could put this film as a companion piece to Oppenheimer, in that, you know, it's men reckoning with what they've done and their guilt and the journey home from that. Because in a lot of ways, Oppenheimer was the mental journey home, and Odyssey is like the physical journey home. Is how do we reckon with what we've done as men?
He even does that in The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
The Dark Knight Rises. He loves that type of, and Insomnia. Have you still not seen Insomnia?
I've not seen Insomnia.
He's done this going back.
Yeah. So
sorry, go ahead.
But like that journey home is so important. And in the Odyssey, you do get that mental and that physical, but it's much more the physical. And I think the mental journey home is the biggest missing piece of the puzzle for me with this film. I think for a lot of this films like want to focus in on the plots of the parts of the epic, and even like Telemax's like subplot and things like that. You know, when you get to the end, what's wrong? Okay. When you get to the end of the film and, you know, it starts giving you that montage of Odysseus like seeing all of the bloodshed at Troy and his guilt for it and all these things, those emotions don't really come in until the final act. And I would have been curious to see, because I actually really like the idea of them stretching the Battle of Troy out over the course of the film, and you don't really fully get the full perspective until the end. But I think we could have been cutting to it much more in these sequences, like the Circe scene and things like that, to really demonstrate Odysseus's mental process and his guilt. And I think the thing that this movie needed to weave into its epic plot a bit more was the character stuff, because from point A to point B in these films, a lot of these characters are very one-dimensional. And I mean, that's because in the epic poem, The Odyssey, a lot of those characters are just one-dimensional, you know, points of view. Like, you know, Robert Pattinson's character, you know, isn't as complex in the poem, but when, you know, in the movie here, you get a bit more complexity to him, but he still really doesn't transcend past that one-dimensional field. He's just kind of a villain. And, you know, Odysseus is just kind of the hero.
You think that's because of the way they incorporated like more contemporary like acting and script, you know,
maybe
like the way these characters spoke? Maybe.
I also do think it's just a symptom of the source material being very one-dimensional. You know, it's a very one-dimensional story. And I think what going off Oppenheimer with how complex that story is and how introspective it is and how much it is about the human emotion and things such as that. You know, you get that in this film, but it doesn't really feel like something Nolan's really chewing on that hard. And that's why, you know, those final few frames of like Odysseus looking at the Trojan horse. In a lot of ways, the Trojan horse is, the nuclear bomb for Oppenheimer. They're very much the same for each other thematically. And I think what this movie really struggled to really push to me is like how this symbol of the horse, breaking Zeus's law and things such as that, like how that really affected Odysseus. Because by the end, it just kind of feels like a monologue and it's like, whatever. It's a little too quick for me. And I think this movie could have been much more deeper and richer and more thematically fulfilling if throughout the movie you were building up that emotion. You were seeing the guilt build up into him. I find Odysseus to be a very flat hero and a very entertaining to watch. And yeah, you get Matt Damon. And now kind of shifting perspective to performances, Matt Damon, I don't know if he was the right choice for Odysseus. And I think that's because, when you see a performance such as Cillian for Oppenheimer, he's really transforming himself. That's really not Cillian Murphy. And he really found the character of Oppenheimer inside of himself. And you feel a transformation. It feels like a very transformative performance. And I was hoping that would be the same thing for Matt Damon as Odysseus. But for me, it's kind of just like watching Matt Damon feel those emotions. Like I remember there was a sequence where it's trying to be humorous and Matt Damon says something about like trying to reason with the Cyclops once they can learn it speaks English. And he's like, oh, well, I think we're past that. Yeah. And it just sounded so stupid. Like it sounded so just Matt Damon being Matt Damon. And I get that's such a small moment, but it's a bigger piece of the puzzle here in that it doesn't really feel like he's transforming himself, and it kind of just feels like it's Matt Damon feeling those emotions and Matt Damon in a Roman outfit and things such as that. I needed an actor who would have really transformed into Odysseus and really been like a general who's feeling the guilt of his actions, whose pride costed his men his lives. I don't really feel that for Matt Damon, and I think I would have wanted to see the story focus in on that emotional aspect a bit more than... I think you get things like he wants to return to his wife. He wants to see his kid. He wants to see that. But none of them are ever focused on enough that you really feel it. And so by the end, what I'm really missing is the emotion. I mean, this movie has all the other ingredients. It's like, give me the emotion and the character. I needed these one-dimensional characters to become three-dimensional. I think that would have been Nolan's way of making his adaptation of the Odyssey much more unique. Because I totally see the vision for the horse being the symbol of like the bomb for, Oppenheimer, but for Odysseus, and like how that portrayed his guilt and how that broke Zeus's law and how that cursed all his men. And I think you could have even like the comparisons to him and Agamemnon and things like that. I needed more of that stuff. Whereas I think the movie focuses a bit more on the action and the epic plot sequences. And to me, like, for as much as it does that, there's also a huge part of the Odyssey. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Bill, that is like super fantastical in the poem. Mm-hmm. I mean, you literally see Zeus and Poseidon and all these gods talking with each other. Yeah. They talk with each other. And you even see Athena trying to like plot how she's going to like trick Odysseus and how she's going to make Odysseus feel bad. And that's actually a moment that I really love in the film here because it's like the most emotional sequence in the film. You learn that Athena appears to Odysseus as Zendaya because that's like the person, the priestess in Troy who was right in front of the Athena statue that they decapitated, and then they decapitated her. And Athena's appearing to Odysseus as that woman to fuck with him. And I think like that's something that could go over a lot of people's heads, is that these gods are really fucking with Odysseus. And I think I needed a bit more of that, those emotional moments. And I would have loved for Nolan to really play into the fantastical side of things and let us see these gods and how they're plotting. And because I think, the gods exist as like this like kind of force that doesn't really play into like a tangible world in the Odyssey. And what upset me about that is the opening lines of the movie are in a time of apparent magic. Magic, right? But this movie feels a lot more grounded than magic. And I think this was Nolan's like excuse to go crazy with it. And I'm kind of sad that he didn't with how much money he had. He kind of kept it more grounded. And it works for what he was going for, but I could have used a bit more. And then, I mean, other performance-wise, Anne Hathaway, I think
Can I jump in on the Damon thing real quick?
Yeah.
Before we get off it. Two things. In terms of when you're talking about the narration of this film and how you would have liked to have seen the Trojan horse get planted earlier and then have that haunt him, I guess, throughout the entire stretch of the film, more so as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the end. I like that Nolan did something different where at least there was a reason for that, meaning like Odysseus's memory was pretty much shot. So we were also watching him. It's not like he had this memory and then the movie just revealed it later. Like there was a reason why like his memories were not with him. At
Yeah.
least it's almost like Nolan provided us a reason for here's why I'm not giving you the Trojan horse right away. More so it's because we just didn't get to the Bernthal scene. But I love how because I think that's where they reveal it.
Yeah, and
Is where
also that sequence is so much like that's the way that scene happens in the poem is so much more cooler than the movie.
see I don't remember if I read it. But so I mean at least he gave reason because I know that's a very Nolan thing is he'll give you the thing that's haunting. He'll do these quick cutbacks, which he does in this movie. He does a lot of quick like flash cutbacks and then
Yeah.
brings you to where we're at now to show you what they're thinking. But I do like how at least he provides reason for why we wait a bit to see what happens with the Trojan horse based off
Yeah.
Odysseus struggling to remember.
In my letterbox review, I wrote, and I think you actually just found the answer for me. I wrote that I just don't like the composition of this film. Like, I don't like its structure inherently. I think just playing it a bit more linear actually would have been helping in this film's case. I think this is one where, for what he was going for in his adaptation emotionally, I think would have worked better a bit more linear because to me, the whole memory thing with Calypso would have been a lot more powerful if we knew what he forgot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like knowing what he forgot, then seeing him have to forget it, like that's a form of torture for us as the audience, so we can kind of resonate with what's going on with Odysseus. And for me, the issue of cutting back to Calypso so many times through the narration is you know something's wrong. Like you already know something's wrong and it doesn't really hit as much. And it also makes you think that Calypso's a much more important character in the film than she turns out being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She kind of just dissipates from the narrative and you get like when Odysseus just throws himself into the ocean and everything.
She's just really like a device.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
I think in the poem she has a lot more character to her, and I would have liked to see that really been like out. Like she's like a sea nymph, like goddess and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and he has like well, no, they do imply that they've been
yeah, they
at
have
it for
they have a
while.
very romantic relationship in the
Yeah.
poem and things like that. And I think that's why the construction here is a little confusing because like I also don't think the film emphasizes how important of a moment Odysseus like turning back and shooting the Cyclops in the face was. Like that was one of the real moments where he cursed his crew,
Right.
Other than using the Trojan horse, which ultimately broke Zeus's law, he pissed off Poseidon with that. And I think the movie doesn't emphasize that as such an important moment, because in the poem, it's really like the moment where he fucks with the Cyclops is like the moment where he cursed his crew.
I know he fucks with him different in the poem where he tells him like his name is Nobody.
Yes.
So when the Cyclops is crying out, he says like nobody hurt me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know Odysseus is way more of a trickster.
He is, and I
Like in
think
this
that's what
story.
Matt Damon doesn't like. But that's what I mean why I wanted someone to
Nolan
find the
doesn't go
character.
for that, though.
But he does actually. He talks about how smart and clever. It's the word clever is used of Odysseus a lot. But to me, Odysseus in this film, the way he's talked about does not match the way that he acts. He kind of just seems like Matt Damon in a Roman outfit. I needed someone who would find the character, not just do the job essentially.
So to go off that, what's funny is, like I mean, you can name some actors who can do that role, but it's a different movie. Where Damon, I think this is obvious to say, I think that's one of the reasons why he was casted is because the version of Odysseus that they were looking for, like when I look at Damon, I do look at a guy who's like, if you get Christian Bale, who I think would have been great. Like I don't know if I feel as much for Odysseus because of Bale's intensity. And Matt
That's the
Damon
thing is,
just looks-
I didn't feel anything for Odysseus in this movie.
Oh, see, I did.
I would have loved for Nolan to really punch the audience with like, no, this guy's kind of an asshole, but you're still rooting for him. Like that I didn't really feel. He felt like a very generic general. It was very generic of a performance for me. It wasn't specific and it wasn't intentional. And I think that's what I was really missing. Is it kind of just feels like Matt Damon just feeling these emotions. And I think the movie really relies on your relationship with Matt Damon to that. And I get that you're making that point, but then I'm also going to make a point, if this movie's a masterpiece, like The Shawshank Redemption was themed as and all these things, kids are going to watch this movie years down the line, and that's what they're going to think. That's what they're going to see as Odysseus, you know what I mean? And they're not going to have that already pre-established relationship with Matt Damon. How does that look? How does that go down? You know what I mean?
So the Odysseus, for the Odysseus they were going for, because it sounds like you want a different Odysseus, but being the one they went for.
I just would have wanted him to perform more like the way the characters talked about him. I just didn't find it believable.
It's more so what Nolan wanted, as opposed to what Damon delivered.
Yeah, I guess the way that the characters talk about Odysseus, this man who's toiling with his guilt and like a real general and one of the most clever men to ever exist, and all these things. Then you see him and he's just kind of like, it's just Matt Damon. Like I
think they were going for like a softer version of Odysseus. Like not softer, like he's not a hard ass general, but I'm saying softer as in like the scene where he has to bow down a couple times to Agamemnon. Like Damon really portrays, because he has this like, again, when you look at an actor like Tom Hardy, who's very intense, again, Christian Bale, who can be very intense, like you have Cillian Murphy, who also he's good looking, but he always kind of looks creepy and like he's nervous. Like Damon has this softness to him, and in the scenes where like he's bowing down or he's trying to recount his memory and whatnot, like I see at least for what they were going for, Damon fit that. If they were going for a different Odysseus, then maybe I can see somebody else. Like would you say Christian Bale or?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't think.
Really transformative, and Bale is a chameleon.
Yeah, I just don't think, like, I can see what they were going for. I just don't think that Damon hit all the notes. Like, I don't think I saw him toiling over his guilt. I don't think I saw him like doing all these things. I just don't find the character entertaining. I think that was the thing.
Nolan or Damon for you for this? Was it like
I think it may have been both. I just
Damon's acting.
I was just confused at the end when, Odysseus was talking about all this bloodshed and all this guilt and all this stuff that he whatever had. I just don't get how he got to that point. I don't see how he got to that point. I didn't see the point A to B character transformation. I didn't see him reaching within himself and like really showing Odysseus's transformation and what he's thinking throughout the film. And like when Odysseus like from I don't see a difference in the Odysseus from the beginning to the end. Okay. Even though everyone's saying all these things, and I don't see the cleverness of Odysseus other than like the actions that he actually does. Like I don't see that in his character. I don't see him thinking. In Oppenheimer, everything that those characters say about Oppenheimer in that movie are believable because Cillian's able to actually portray that. I don't think Damon hits those notes the same way. That's what I'm really trying to get at.
Okay. And how did we feel you were getting into the rest of the cast?
Yeah, I think Anne Hathaway was the best performance for me here. I think she's absolutely amazing. I think she knew exactly what her role was and did it to like the highest level possible. And it has so much like passion and devotion. Tom Holland, I'm on the 50-50 side. I don't really think he does much to really win me over in this film. Kind of the Matt Damon thing where I kind of just feel like it's Tom Holland saying these things. But then there's moments where I see him reach into a different side of himself when he's like, the feast is over, and like he projects his voice in a way I haven't heard him do before. I would have liked to see that more throughout the film. I would have liked to see how he could have played different things different. He kind of just plays himself in a lot of ways. And I guess you could speak to that being Nolan being like, oh, I know he's going to do this well because this is who he is. But I almost to another extent wouldn't even really know what Telemachus' arc in the film is from beginning to end, other than him just traveling to Menelaus and speaking to Menelaus and going back and then being crowned leader. Kind of like Odysseus being like, hey, you young people, like it's your turn. Like you got to go you got to go fix the world now. But it's like, I didn't really see an arc there, and the only way he really helped out his dad in the end is he just dropped a sword through the roof. I
It was
mean,
a pretty badass scene, though.
I guess, yeah.
What a great scene when I'm sorry, this is where some comedy was invoked in, and I feel whether or not comedy was meant, but I loved the scene where Marshall Green is throwing stuff through the ceiling, and whatever lands, Pattinson just calls it out.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
the swords, get the swords.
yeah.
And he's
He's
like, the
such a
shields,
bitch.
get the shields. Spears, get the spears. It's like
Yeah,
it becomes a comedy routine. I'm like,
it
he had
does.
to have been going for some laughs on that one. Speaking of which, how'd you feel about Pattinson, Corey Hawkins, some of our other,
Oh yeah, I was gonna get to
really some
them.
of our,
I just think Pattinson just did the job. You know what I mean?
hmm,
Nothing too surprising, nothing too crazy. I mean, I've seen him do this before, and he does it well. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But that's what I mean. It wasn't really a standout because he did it. He did everything I knew he could do. It didn't really surprise me in any way.
Okay. Liquizamo.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the performance that got me.
Well, I wrote for my three like standouts. I said Anne Hathaway, Benny Safdie, and Leguizamo. And I think Leguizamo is just because I've never seen him do anything like this before, and that's why it's so special and so cool. Is that I've never seen him reach into this level emotionally and have that passion and play someone who's so devoted to a cause or a person. And I think he did that so well, and he did such a great job of acting with his eyes and his face and his body
Yeah.
language. He just did a very great job. It is very surprising for me. But then
It's
Benny
very,
Safdie, what?
sorry, it's very, and this in a way, this goes along with Safdie now I'm thinking about it. His very, it's a subtle physical role
Yes,
for
yes,
Leguizamo. The way that he hunches, the way that he portrays himself as truly an old man with no eyesight. Like the way that he stands there when Odysseus walks up and he's burning the dogs at the flame,
yeah.
and the way he's bent over and he turns his head. And furthermore, before you get into him, Safdie is just a very physical role.
That's what I
And
say. It's all presence. It is
and that's why
all
I'm curious
presence.
why you picked him as a standout.
Yeah, because he does almost nothing but has so much presence.
Yeah.
And it's like you're kind of waiting for his character to say something in a lot of ways, but he almost never does until the Hades scene. And it was just a really cool role. And also because in the poem, he's not that major of a character and doesn't hold that much presence. So seeing as to why Nolan focused in on him here, he was kind of like he was the generation of like Odysseus and like the young man who like went home for the hero's welcome and like wasn't smart enough. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the role does a really great job at portraying is he has this badass armor, he has this presence, everything, but Agamemnon was not a clever person. And I think they do a really great job of portraying that. And it was just all presence and the armor, and he knew how to have that physicality. And especially like Benny Safdie's not like an intimidating looking guy himself.
No, he's
And like
not.
the fact that you made him into the most intimidating person in the movie like is very cool. But again, just having that performance be that way to kind of like show the difference of like, yes, this man has the stature, the physicality, the fearing nature, but like he doesn't have the wit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the guy who's waiting outside while the guy inside unlocks the door. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like having that distinct difference is really interesting. But then Zendaya was another standout for me. She had like so much grace in her role and like almost felt like she was levitating in a way. Like she was so good at playing this haunting nature. Like she was genuinely perfect for that role. And it just seemed she knew the assignment and like killed it. And definitely one of the more emotional moments in the movie where like they hold hands together. You know what I mean? It really hit me. And I was like, this is what I want. This is what I want more of. And like to me, like it gets to that. To me, it's like a 4-star epic, kind of like Babylon was, where it was like, yes, like sequentially, there's all these amazing set pieces of moments, performances, music, everything. It's so well put together. It's filmmaking on the highest level. I just needed more emotion. I needed more character.
Who do you think adapted, if you haven't answered this one, the contemporary style best to this story when you look at this cast? Is there, because the reason why I asked that is because where I think that choice by Nolan really shined is like, okay, here's an example of why this is working, is I think in Bernthal's scene. Like knowing what his character, I mean, I guess you say the guilt he's carrying, to an extent, and how he has this darkness in him because of what happened to his brother
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. Like the way that Bernthal brings that Bernthalness to the role, and he could play that bothered, aggressive, about to explode type of individual. Like I don't know if that would have worked as well if he was playing up, quote unquote, like that type of style from back
Yeah.
then. Like I think he was an example of, okay, this is where I'm seeing where the choice for contemporary language and carrying yourself, I guess, as well. I said, this is where, okay, this is where it's a benefit.
He does a great job of like vocalizing the dialogue in a way that makes it sound modern, but also like in a way like of like that poetic nature. Like
Yeah.
when he talks, it almost seems like a poem. He's like, some say he's this, some say he's that. Like he does a great job of really vocalizing his voice to make it sound contemporary, but also to like hold on to the riches and like that uniqueness of the poem and the words. And I think that scene and that performance would have stood out to me more if it played a bigger part into the plot. Like yes, he tells Telemachus the story of like the Trojan War, but I think it would have hit more if Telemachus's story held a bigger value and arc in the movie. Whereas I kind of feel like that one kind of fizzles out towards the end. And yes, I like getting the background into like Agamemnon and like the brother and like Helen and her sister and all those things. And there's such interesting parts of the poem, but it doesn't really hold much weight in the movie because it doesn't really add that much. You know what I mean?
Even for Holland, some of these names I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
Telemachus.
Telemachus, yeah.
For him, it's just, I mean, he even says it in the movie when Anne Hathaway is asking him about essentially if he learned anything. And in one way or another, he just tells her he just learned another story.
Yeah.
Like he pretty much says it for us. I mean, it's like cut and dry. Like we didn't gain much we did, but like
I would have
a whole lot.
I would have wanted more from like Telemachus's story and his arc of like becoming a leader. I mean, Bernthal's character says it. Bernthal's character's name I think is Menelaus.
Menelaus.
Yeah. So he's like you have to lead, and then by the end he leads, but it's like how did Holland get there? Like how did Telemachus get there?
It almost seems like because Odysseus and Penelope were leaving, it's like, well,
I could have used a bit more, especially like
I agree with that. That's why I'm saying that.
I could have used a bit more from Penelope too. Like what a great reveal that like she unweaves the thing every night because like she's waiting for Odysseus.
Oh,
like that was a great That was a great reveal. There were so many
lost on me.
There were so many things like that were so like cool. Like I needed more of those little character bits, like those little emotional pieces. Like I really could have used more of that because then it would have, to me, Penelope's story by the end would have been more impactful. A lot of these stories like kind of fizzle out, and like that's the one strength I'll give Oppenheimer is like the stories in Oppenheimer have like a clear beginning, middle, and end, and all hold thematic weight. To me, in the Odyssey, like, a lot of the story threads go untold and like don't hold much weight by the end. And then that's where, for me, where it's like as an epic, it's like you want to make sure all those things hold weight because they're all huge pieces, chunks of this puzzle. You know what I mean?
So that moment where I think Hathaway really delivers, where I'm like, oh, there's the nomination, is when her and Holland are going at it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That was like the most powerful scene.
She snaps on him a couple times, but the scene where she basically is like, I forgot exactly what she says, but she's questioning, I've been here so long and I'm a woman, so I can't take the seat.
Mm-hmm.
And when her and Pattinson, I think would that be, because now thinking back to what you're saying, I feel like the moment between Pattinson and Hathaway is a good example where I felt more character depth coming through, where he's trying to woo her a little bit and she's playing off him. I felt like that was a moment. Even Samantha Morton as Cersei, when her and Damon are volleying back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they were just here for food. And she's like, they would have done, basically saying they would have attacked her.
Would have raped her. Yeah.
Exactly. Like those are moments that held more substance for me than, let's say, when Damon and Charlize were going back and forth.
Yeah, Charlize didn't do much for me in this film. Not gonna lie.
I would agree.
She didn't do much. I didn't find her performance that great. And I also don't think her character held that much value because of the way the story was told.
She seemed like a device. I mean, would you have wanted? Did you like the moment between Pattinson and Hathaway? Were you looking for like more?
Yeah, like showing who they are underneath. I wanted to see more of what makes these characters tick and who they are and why they are. And so by the end, I was like, oh, the Trojan horse being a symbol for Odysseus and all those things. Like I saw that by the end, but I was like, no, this is too late. Why am I just seeing this now? I don't like. I need this to hit earlier for this to be hitting more right now. I just needed more from this film. I needed more emotion and character depth. Everything else across the board is like a 10 out of 10. That's just that little piece that I was missing, that I saw that was in Oppenheimer. You know, to me, why I think Oppenheimer's a much better film than The Odyssey is because it is an epic, just like The Odyssey. It has all these rich characters and subplots, and they all come to a head. To me, in The Odyssey, they don't fully come to a head. And the performances are very transformative in Oppenheimer. While in The Odyssey, there's so many transformative performances, but its central performance to me is what's lacking there. Like it's really it's few central performances lack a little substance for me. And that's why I think the Oppenheimer just works as an epic better for me. And that's why when I walked out of it, I was like, oh wow, this is a masterpiece. Is because I felt all the emotions. Like I was moved emotionally. The Odyssey didn't move me emotionally. And I think that's why, yes, I could take all the inspiration from the filmmaking and all these things, and it's so great, and that's why we praise Nolan. But it's why when I walked out, I wasn't like, this is a masterpiece. It's because I wasn't moved.
How did you feel when you walked out? Besides that, like, were you also excited by this movie?
Yeah, I was like, it looked really awesome. It looked
Motivated?
really cool. But I didn't feel like the inspired and motivated like after I felt Oppenheimer. Like after I felt Oppenheimer, I was like, holy shit, like I want to make a movie like that. Like this is why I want to make movies. It's the same way I felt after Dune 2. And for me, this one almost got there. Like it almost got there. It just didn't fully. You know what I mean?
It's what the more I think about it, like I understand what you're saying. And there are those sprinkles what I feel like you were looking for, like what I said between Pattinson and Hathaway.
But that's kind of
the
what
scene
annoyed me.
Hades.
Yeah, that's what annoyed me is that like I saw Nolan was giving me what I wanted a little bit, and
Right.
that's why I said sequentially this movie's masterful. It just didn't weave together for me.
Like even the scene on Hades, I think that is like a brilliant scene. Like where Elliot Page and what's his name, Safdie,
Yeah.
come back from the dead, and the way that they're really emoting there. Like Agamemnon's teaching him a lesson. Elliot Page is, if I remember in that scene, was he feeling like betrayal? Because he's like, you didn't tell me.
He was feeling betrayal, but he was also like trying to like tell him to do better.
Gotcha.
It's like
Okay.
honor his men. You know what I mean?
And like I loved that scene. I guess those scenes really hit for
Yeah,
me
but
so much.
I
that,
thought Matt Damon in that scene was terrible. Like I thought he was
Really?
just literally just responding back to Elliot Page. Like Elliot Page was showing so much emotion, choking on that like hell blood or whatever the fuck it was, like everything. Then Matt Damon's like, yeah, yes, no, I will bury my men. Yes. Like it was just like not doing anything for me.
You know what I loved is him screaming out, and there's something lost on me here. You're gonna have to answer this question. I love how after that he's just like, again, this is where the contemporary thing worked for me, like 2026, where he's like, "Let's go," and he leads them all. Why? What was he leading them for? Like all
Oh no,
those
he wasn't
ghosts,
leading them. He was running because they were attacking him.
all the dead bodies.
Yeah, they
It
were
looked like
running after. They were running
Why did he
after
scream
him
out, "Let's go"?
because his men were ahead of him and they were starting to run.
Okay, because those
I do see what you mean. It was a weird scene because why didn't the zombies immediately attack them? It was like, yeah, let's wait for us to get our character stuff
Okay.
over, and then let's attack. It seemed
the
like
way that-
zombies.
the way it was shot, it was like he was leading them into battle.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
But I'm like,
I think it was supposed to mirror that this was like his army who was lost. You know what I mean?
But they were really gonna attack him. You're saying?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they were running to the boat in the scene. Damon and his
Yeah, I
men are
thought they
running
were
to the
just-
boat to escape.
They were just like following his lead, but they couldn't go because we're dead.
I don't think
Like
so.
we're gonna run. No, I don't know. That's the thing is the way that scene was shot. I guess I'm an idiot. I really thought I'm like, oh, they're running with him, but they can't actually go because they're dead. So it's like one more battle run. Or
Yeah,
something.
I think it was supposed to just look interesting. Like they were trying to make it look interesting and
How
like
the fuck would they attack him?
mirror the general thing. Well, I think it's because at first those were just regular zombies, and then they all slowly turned into his men who were like mad that they weren't buried.
Okay. All right. That scene confused me. It looks like he was almost leading them.
But
How'd you feel-
I do think that is a criticism of that scene, that it is a little confusing.
It got me. How did you feel about Ludwig's score? This is a very subtle
It's very subtle.
score
Its
by him
main
that
theme is like really good. It's very subtle. It works for like what it is. I love the little touch of like the bow being strung and
oh
like the music. Like that really worked on me. That was really cool. And there's
yeah
a lot of great like pieces of the music alone. Definitely not as many rich and unique melodies and as in like the Oppenheimer soundtrack. Like it doesn't
yeah
really compare to the Oppenheimer one for me. Like in the Oppenheimer one, there's like 85 bangers, and this one there's like a few. You know what I mean? This one more so works well for what the movie is. You know what I mean? And I
I'm
do
still
think it's just showing that Ludwig can bang out a score that's gonna be amazing for any film to fit any sort of historical time period or anything. I just think it puts him in like the GOAT discussions, you know? Like
oh yeah
this isn't a score that I'm gonna return to a lot, but when I'm watching the movie, I'm gonna be like, this is an amazing score. Oppenheimer was one where it's like, wow, I'm gonna actually listen to this like in my life, and it's amazing in the movie. You know what I mean?
I've been listening. I need to re-listen to the Oppenheimer soundtrack. I haven't really dove into it,
Hmm.
but I've been listening to the Odyssey soundtrack this week during workouts. And there's some tracks where I was like, "Oh, this is just," and not in a bad way. I'm like, "This is really slow," and
Yeah,
it's just
and
like,
they're all kind of this. I listen through the whole Spotify soundtrack now.
yeah,
The best song on on that soundtrack is probably the Siren song.
okay. I think I there's a battle one called "Let's Go" maybe or something. I don't remember. And I was listening to that during a lift, and there's like this building of drums,
Oh,
and in
it's
my mind,
no,
I'm
it's the
like,
Troy. It's the Troy
"Oh, is
one.
that it?" I was like,
When he like
"There it
drops the
is."
lantern and it shows all the men outside.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it's
I was like,
that track's called
"Fucking."
Troy.
It's like there it is. What was your favorite set piece in this movie?
Probably the Battle of Troy, and just like how much that thematically like meant so much to the movie. But then there's like a sequence like where you're like the whirlpool in the mountain and like the mountain monster,
Oh,
like
Scylla.
to yeah, so like that in the poem like is such a huge thing, but in the movie it feels kind of glossed over.
It's really
It's
quick.
really quick, and they I don't know. I think that like for as much time as the other episodes of the Odyssey got, like that was one where I was like, okay, that felt kind of rushed, and like they didn't really show what Scylla looked like. It was kind of just like, you know what I mean?
It just looked like a rock
Yeah,
spider. It
it
looks
was
like a.
that was one of those really weaker sequences for me in the movie.
It looks like if Rocky had a really from Project Hail Mary had a really fucked up mom.
Yeah. It, I don't know. It was okay.
It,
And but to me the Troy sequence and how much that meant like emotionally, like how stretched out over the course of the movie, like that battle thematically holds so much weight. Like that's a very cool idea to me that I think the movie should have harkened down on even more than it does. You know what I mean?
so you would have had introduced that in the first act, like
But what's crazy is the
Oppenheimer,
opening of
and
the movie is like like the literal beginning when they take
yeah,
the horse. I think I don't know if I would have maybe stretched it out over the course of the movie too, but like as Odysseus is making mistakes with his men and thinking these emotions, like cutting to the horse, like cutting to the people being killed in Troy, like I would have liked to see his build up gradually. You know what I mean? Other than right at the end being like, you know what I mean?
do you think? This maybe seems stupid to ask this because it's literally what you wanted from this movie, but would that almost seem too formulaic then of Nolan? Like, could people have walked away being like, okay, he did the same thing in Oppenheimer. You implemented what's haunting him, and we just cut back. Like, does it almost so become too much of the same thing if he
I,
repeats?
Maybe, but then he should have found something else to focus on in this
Right,
adaptation. You know what I mean? You like people are. I mean, Jon Stewart had Nolan and was like, this is a literal sequel to Oppenheimer because it's another movie about a man's guilt for what he did and how the
right.
world is punishing him for it. It's just in this world, it's the gods and not society. You know what I mean?
That's what I wanted to go on. The
Yeah.
gods. Something you said before. So I liked the fact that we don't, minus Athena, see the gods. I think the idea of like we're seeing their wrath, we're seeing, yeah, I mean their actions, but without seeing them. It almost reminds me a little bit of like when somebody in our world says when they've got the fear of God put in them, or if they're afraid to, break a sin or whatever, or when they
Yeah.
want to go to confession, or like my 5-year-old niece Brielle, when she curses, she looks up. I don't know where she got this from. She says, "Sorry, Santa. Sorry, Jesus." Like, it's like this. Like, and again, we can't see God, but like that's where to me I'm like, oh, I like this decision because the way that they're treating the gods is very much how a lot of people treat whatever god they worship down here. Like we can't
Yeah.
see them, but they might reference, oh, divine intervention. Like they say, when you forget something in the house and you run back in, there's somebody, maybe it's God, who's delaying you 5 more minutes because you might miss getting into a car accident.
Yeah, it's definitely very grounded and works for like the adaptation they're telling. I just think when you open your movie with in a time of apparent magic and you have a witch turning people into, pigs and all these things, I feel like this was your movie to really have fun with it, and he didn't. And maybe, I mean, for what I'll say is like for the adaptation, the choice that he made does work and is the best choice. I guess just for me, I would have, when you like label this movie as like in a time of magic and like you have all these crazy fantastical things, like why not go a little crazier with it, and really
Just wanted to
hammer it
go
home.
harder.
Yeah, I think this was his chance to do so, and he didn't take it, and I was like a little disappointed by that. But
Because I think there's a balancing act. Because I do think if you introduce the gods and however he depicts them, whether he cuts to them in the sky and they're talking or whatever it is, I wonder how many people come away and they might say, "It's just a curious thought. The fucking God shit took me out of it." Because we're
yeah, no,
expecting Nolan to ground stuff.
I
Like,
think
has
the
he
I
really?
think the way that he did Athena is how he should have done all of them. That was
Okay,
perfect. Like the way they appear to him and taunt him and things
okay,
like that. Like
I could see that.
I always like the idea of like people that other characters can't see and are there just like thematically, and like there's a whole video game I love called Cyberpunk 2077, which is like completely based on that notion, like the voice in your head and things like that.
Okay,
Like I really thought like the whole voice in your head thing that could have played into the guilt and trauma and things like that. I just think for a movie that's like thematically focusing on those things for the adaptation, it could have played into it a bit more.
like during the scene where they, after the men kill the sheep or whatever, and they've angered, I think it's Poseidon, and that's when like the ship gets wrecked and they're trying to scream out and ask for forgiveness. In that moment, almost in like a haunting way, which would have fit this theme with this movie, would you have preferred like they look over and you just see, I'm just going to pick a name out of my asshole, Sir Ian McKellen just standing there on the boat and you're like, that's Poseidon. Like you just wanted the presence. You didn't need
Maybe
somebody throwing lightning bolts or
yeah,
anything.
no. I don't need like
Right.
superhero thing. I don't know. Maybe just some sort of physical manifestation because the Athena thing really worked for me. So I was maybe that would work for me. Maybe it wouldn't. It's just something I thought of. Is like maybe I would have loved to like to see a bit more fantastical things, but that's also me recognizing like that is what I wanted, and this movie was going for a bit more grounded approach to the adaptation, and like the
Right.
choice that he made does work. It's just like if you give me the crumb of like Athena, you know what I mean? It's like I want a little bit more, kind of like how he gives the crumbs of like the character moments. I want a bit more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't all fully come together because of that, but I can still recognize like cinematography 10 out of 10, score 10 out of 10, like it all still works so well for me like it did in Oppenheimer. Just it's missing that human emotion for me to appeal to a bit more.
So where does this rank for you on the Nolan list?
It's
I mean,
probably
he's
it's
got what?
probably in the it's probably in like the top 5, probably in the top 5.
Gotcha. What would
If
you put
not
ahead
like
of
if
this?
not like probably it's number 5.
What would you put ahead of this?
Oh, okay, you actually want me to rank him. So I guess one for me would definitely be Oppenheimer. It's definitely his strongest film in my sense from a writing perspective and from any other perspective. I just think it's super strong. And then The Dark Knight. I mean, that's just like my favorite superhero movie of all time. It's like the one superhero movie that really takes itself serious, so I could take it super serious, and I really love that. And then for me, I think it'd probably be Interstellar. I just really love the themes of Interstellar, and I love how that's the movie where he just went fucking crazy with it and appealed
Yeah.
to like every human emotion. And it felt like that moment where like in Interstellar where he goes into like the fifth dimension, like that to me is like the moment where I'm like, oh, that's actually Nolan taking this like a step further and going serious and crazy. Like those are the things that I recognize and I really, really like. And
That's a
then
transcending moment in a movie for me.
yeah,
Is that scene
exactly.
spellbinding?
Exactly. And then for me, it'd probably be Inception number 4, the whole dream sequence thing and the characters and how complex they are. I love how complex the plot and the action is, but the characters themselves are also complex. So it's kind of giving me what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then probably number 5 would be the Odyssey. And the Odyssey makes its way to number 5 is because it gives me the elements of all those movies and what they have. It's just missing how all those movies have a really big thematic heart to them. And I think that's what the Odyssey is really missing for me. And what annoys me about the Odyssey is that it's there, it just doesn't give it to me fully. You know what I mean? It just gives
Gotcha.
itself
Yeah.
in crumbs, and that's not what I really want.
Yeah, it's tough. I think for me it's probably The Dark Knight and then two or three. I feel like I could interchange Interstellar and the Odyssey because I think
Hmm.
that's where I'd slate them two and three. I don't know. Right now it could be Interstellar, but tomorrow it could be the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Then I just fucking The Dark Knight Rises just works on me. I'll go hard for Bane, and then five. It's been a while, but probably Inception.
Yeah.
I'd only just didn't put Oppenheimer top five because I really need to rewatch Oppenheimer, so it's not fresh in my mind.
It's so good. That movie is so perfect. It's also a really rewatchable movie because it is also really funny. It can be really fucking funny, but then like, it has such good dramatic moments. It just has everything for me.
Yeah. So I know you said this movie wasn't really like you didn't have the Dune 2 or Oppenheimer response to it.
Hmm.
But as somebody in film school, is there something you look or even if it's not like the most motivating movie, but there's something you look at or take from this that you think you would apply
It's that
or
notion.
not take from it? Like it's also what you wouldn't do, which
It's
I think you've
it's
named a couple.
Yeah, no, I definitely named a couple, but it's that notion of like this film feels like a movie that was made in the 30s and that like they actually went there and just fucking made it. You know, like
Yep.
there wasn't that much like CGI and like it was filmed almost all on actual location and like that's how I as a filmmaker would totally want to work. I want to be actually out there doing the things no matter the risk. Like that's to me like what justifies us as the audience like buying a ticket and going to like the movies and spending an afternoon there. Like I know that doesn't really seem like a big deal, but that is a choice to spend your time. What's going to like justify that is like actually like the hard process of filmmaking, you know? Like anybody can use AI and churn out like, you know, a Blumhouse horror movie and it's going to make a shit ton of money if you put it in the theaters and whatnot. To me, though, that doesn't justify me buying a seat. What justifies me buying a seat is that Nolan and his crew actually went out to these Greek islands and made a fucking movie. You know what I mean? And that physicality and that magic of the filmmaking process can never be lost. And like that's to me was what I take most is like that's how I want to make movies because I think that's how I see myself getting justified in buying a ticket to go to the movies.
This movie, and you started to mention it, took place in six countries.
Yeah,
This is quite
exactly.
amazing. Morocco, Greece, Iceland, which is where the Haiti scene was, Scotland, and the US. They shot the principal photography lasted for 91 days.
Crazy.
That's crazy that he did this in 91 days.
Yeah.
And yeah, as he said, he sought to embrace, in his words, the physicality of the real world by filming on location. There's this story that's going viral. Have you heard this about Bernthal?
Mm-mm.
Where before the movie came out, they alluded to it. Then after I saw it, I was like, okay, it's the Trojan horse scene where they talked about how Bernthal said there's a scene, and this is days before the movie came out, where I'm just paraphrasing, where he was like, we were all in a really tight claustrophobic quarters and we were in freezing water. And Nolan was in there. And Nolan, I think he wanted to give them a break or something like that. Like, let's pull them out of the water. I might be butchering the story, but all I know is Bernthal said he riled everybody up. He was like, "You're not going to break me, Chris. Like, I'm not getting out of here. I'm not doing it. You can't break me, Chris." And like, I could imagine them like just doing that
Yeah.
is so cool to me. The fact that like Nolan's in the water with them and Bernthal's like
But that's what I
getting
mean.
apparently
Nolan's right
everybody
there with
riled
him.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
that's a great story.
the fact that they had to build because that one I think they call it the soundproof blimp that was specifically constructed to mute the camera's sound because for those who don't know, IMAX cameras are very loud. There's like a ticking sound, so credit to the actors who've had to try to like convey monologues and dialogues over it. But in this one, they covered the sound, but it made the camera like so much bigger. And did you hear about the mirror contraption?
No.
Like some of the actors had to act through a mirror towards each other because it was so big. Again, I could be butchering this. There were certain scenes where they just couldn't get two like actors like in the shot or whatever, so they had to like act through a mirror to each other.
That is insane.
In
That
certain
is
scenes, look it
insane.
up. There might be people screaming right now that I got that wrong, but I know the mirror effect in the Odyssey was a big, and there are pictures of it too.
Okay. That's
One
really
thing I
cool.
want I'm looking it up now. One thing I wanted to, oh yeah, here it comes. In Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, a clever mirror setup was used to overcome a major technical challenge when filming with IMAX cameras. They're massive, they produce a lot of noise, so they were enclosed in what they call the blimp, which is soundproof housing. However, the blimp made the camera so big that it physically blocked actors' direct view of each other, especially in intimate or front-on shots, and it could break eye contact, timing, and connection. So the mirror system allowed actors to see each other around the camera, and the setup worked like a periscope on its side. One actor would look into mirror one, which reflected the other actor's image to mirror two,
Okay.
which the off-screen actor could see. So it's like so much more credit to the cast for
Seriously,
working
that's
through this.
insane. And that's what I mean. The filmmaking techniques on here and on display here are insane.
It's innovative.
It
in
is. And
2026.
that's what's so awesome about Nolan's filmmaking. That's why he gets like to that 10 out of 10. It's not a 9 out of 10, it's a 10 out of 10 because it's like transcending the actual framework and like really establishing a new world order.
And one thing with this movie that I feel like it's such of the conversation, and there may be people I'm sure that would be pissed about it, but the hate leading into it and some of the hate that's taking place, like some people are like, okay, like I'm seeing a meme of like, this is the Greek warrior, and they're showing Himesh Patel, who I thought was fantastic, or that Helen of Troy is Lupita Nyong'o, who's African American, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little more simple-minded, but I'm like, guys, this is an interpretation.
Oh yeah, that's bullshit.
Like
Like there's so many
this,
adaptations of the Odyssey, you can go pick your poison. You know what I mean?
right? Like this is an interpretation. So, and I thought it all worked. Even people thought Elliot Page is Achilles. No, he wasn't. He was Sinan. It's like people were losing their minds over stuff that was rumored that wasn't true. Or again, like somebody went at me on, like I was telling you before recording, on TikTok, basically because I liked the movie. His opening comment was, obviously you don't know the Odyssey. And then he wrote a 4-paragraph essay. And that's where I stopped reading, was after he opened it by just telling me that I'm stupid. And all I said in response to him after I skimmed through his shit was, I said, it's an interpretation. Like, this is not a true story. This is like, again, there is a cyclops in this fucking movie, and there's a witch who makes men into pigs. It's an interpretation. And if you don't like it, then at least I respect. I had a client tell me she's very Greek and she has a lot of Greek pride. She just says, won't see it. I'm like, okay, I respect that. You won't see it. Good. Everybody else who's going to see it despite all this and then they still want to shit on it, fuck off.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if they actually don't like something and they can back it up with, like, you know what I mean?
I think it's the hate that people are putting forward. Like the diverse casting is such a problem.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
things
no,
like
that's
that.
it's those things. Like, it's one thing to get hung up on, like, you know, oh, I didn't really like the cinematography as much as others and things like that. And if you could back that
Right,
up,
yeah, I'm not talking about that.
But if you're like hating on just actors and people, like, that's not nice. That's not cool.
Yeah, like I don't like, again, it's an interpretation.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is. And this story has been reinterpreted over years and years. There's a version, I just learned this from a client. There's a version of the Odyssey that takes place either in Ireland or with completely like Irish.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's the thing. It's such a cool story to like adapt in different ways. You could look at it from
right.
any different type of cultural perspective, and the story changes. You can change it. You can change it from Greek gods to Norse gods. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anything like that.
Well, so if you're citing some potential nominations here for this movie, I mean, I feel there's a laundry list, but what are some standouts, or you could name them all for all I care,
Best
that you
supporting
think this
actress
movie's,
for Anne Hathaway. That's the one that really speaks to me. That's the one that's really speaking to me. Maybe the actress who ever plays Cersei too,
oh, Samantha Morton?
Samantha Morton. I
Christopher,
could possibly see that as well.
not to cut you off, Christopher Nolan said something along the lines of the last time like an entire cast of a movie that he made was this captivated by a single performer was Heath Ledger. So for those who haven't seen it, I don't know why you'd be listening to this. It's completely spoiler filled, but that's how big like Samantha Morton delivers. He basically said
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger was the last one to do this in one of my movies.
And I could also totally see a best supporting actor for John Leguizamo, and I could see the story and passion behind that one. Like I could see the story arc for that award season
Yeah.
right now. Anything else though? Not really.
What about? Oh, I'm not talking about acting. Were we talking about like
Oh,
cinematography,
okay. Yeah, yeah.
sound design,
Yeah, but
costume?
that's easy to say because that's
Yeah.
obviously going to get nominated. The score, the cinematography, it's probably going to get editing too. It's probably going to get sound design. Yeah, it's going to get all of those. I don't know. We'll talk award season if it's going to win those, but it's definitely going to get those. I thought you were saying more the performances because that's
Oh no,
a bit more
everything.
interesting to
Yeah.
peek over. But yeah, all of the technicals, it's going to get nominated for, and it's going to get nominated for Best Picture too.
I think I could see Damon. I just have a feeling Damon's getting nominated.
Okay.
I could see him getting it. Definitely Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway's
This is
a
a-
definite.
This is a movie that with like Sinners, where you had like oh God, what was his name? Who was up for Best Supporting? He played the harmonica player. I can't think of his name right now. It's escaping me.
Oh. Yeah, I
I could
forget.
see his face right in front of me.
I know.
But the way he was nominated, the names are escaping me right now. I feel like such an idiot. And then the one woman who was Michael B. Jordan's, one of the twins, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
the way she was nominated, Sinners cast. I just Googled this to come up and like, how are their knees? Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo, yes.
The way like he was nominated, I can't find the other woman's name real quick. I'm not going to waste much time on it, but like I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple people or like one battle, like a
Yeah.
couple actors going at it in Best Supporting from the same film, like Leguizamo. I wouldn't be shocked, even though I don't think he did anything over the top. For some reason, I wouldn't be shocked if Pattinson made.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess
why.
it's not really on my mind because it doesn't really that performance didn't really surprise me. I mean, he was just amazing. He was really good.
I think there's also a case, like you were saying, to be made for Samantha Morton.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see that. I most see Anne and John though.
Yeah, John is. I feel like John would be like the Amy Madigan story.
But
this
that's
year.
what I
It's
mean
like-
is that there's a story for that there, and you know the Academy goes for that. So
because he's one of these actors. Like I've always enjoyed him in anything he's done,
yeah,
but not that I didn't think he was a really solid actor. But I see him in this, and I go, "Oh, he had this in him."
yeah.
Like I don't know. I just wouldn't. Not that he's not capable, but I just wouldn't have put this in my brain that he had this in him, which sounds like kind of fucked up. And again, there's no indictment on him. I just when he delivers his performance, like he's the one that just he got me feeling the most.
I hear you, man. I hear you, and
think.
I totally agree. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Between him and Pattinson. And I think as we begin to wind down here, if I remember correctly, I might butcher this a little bit. I don't think a director's ever won twice for like they've ever repeated like best film, best director. I don't think that's
We'll
ever.
see, but that's what I mean. This will be a much more interesting discussion come awards time because we'll have the full perspective. We're just guessing here now, but it will be nominated for all those things. Like Nolan will be nominated for best director. It'll be all those things. It's just a question of whether he's gonna win. We're gonna have to see how the rest of this year unfolds before we can say that.
And this movie right now is outdoing itself. Its budget was 250. As of right now, it's at 327.8 million. Do you think this movie Oppenheimer hit $1 billion, which was wild at the time?
Yeah,
Do you
I
think
don't know.
This movie can.
I think it has the chance for sure, but I don't know if it will because I don't know if it has like that extreme word of mouth like Oppenheimer did, where it was like I was telling people to go see this 3-hour epic that I would never tell to go see a 3-hour epic. You know what I mean? This is one where I talked to my dad about it. I'm like, I don't think you'd like this one. Like, you don't have to go see it.
Really?
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer did have that social buzz of like Barbenheimer too. And this movie, in a week, it goes up against a week from whatever, couple days, it goes up against what I think is going to be the highest grossing movie of the year, and that's Spider-Man.
Exactly. And so
And
I
I don't
think
know
that's going to be a huge obstacle for this movie reaching like the heights of Oppenheimer.
And I do think, though, I might be wrong. I think the Odyssey has IMAX secured for a bit, even into Spider-Man's run.
Okay.
But Spider-Man, though, that's yeah. I don't know if Oppenheimer was facing anything a week or two out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be nuts by the end of this. See that this is Tom Holland's summer.
Seriously,
Yeah,
kid's gonna be making fucking bank this summer.
yeah. He worked for me in this to the extent of
Not
like I
not
guess that's
Foley
why
for me.
Nolan. I guess he worked because of what he was given to do. He's like, you're
Yeah,
playing the kid.
the boyish
Yeah.
kid who wants to do more.
Like he didn't captivate me, but he worked on me.
I think there's a world in which Odysseus and Telemachus like are like very captivating story arcs. You know what I mean? And not like bigger cogs of like a captivating movie. You know what I mean?
I mean, the moment they have together where he comes back, that was a big emotional beat for me. And Argus, his
Didn't
dog.
hit that much for me. Didn't hit that
Oh
much.
yeah, like the way Argus just waits for him and then passes, and then for me that one. Like my second viewing, there was a woman next to me. The second Argus's tail stopped, she was like, it's almost like she was ready with tissues, and she was just like right to her face and started crying. And then it even gets me when Holland's like, "You're my father." Like, I don't know, that worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be a scene at the end of that film that I'm going to remember as like, this is a powerful scene where he strings the bow and arrow
Yeah.
and he shoots it through. Like that moment, oh, and like
Okay.
Hathaway's expression, like during that. And one more thing to speak to the power of Nolan, I started to say it before. You even look at somebody like Mia Goth, who's in this movie for probably a total of 3 minutes.
Yes, yeah, I forgot.
Who I didn't know her character is twins technically with Logan Marshall Green.
Mhm.
Like their characters, they never touch on that. That's important, but apparently they're twins. And the fact that again, like Mia Goth, big time actress, it really says something when she's like, "Yeah, I'll be in the Nolan movie for 3.5 minutes."
Yeah, and her character's a one-dimensional, just like side villain. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
she's just there.
Yep.
But and I do love what the internet is doing with Agamemnon.
Oh
Everybody's like, no character has aura farmed more than him. I mean,
which is so surprising because like his character's not actually a cool character. Like he really isn't. Like he actually isn't. But Nolan just made him into like the cool character of the film. Like he's the
I think
poster child.
and I think it was a choice. And Nolan spoke to that too. I don't know what his answer was, why he picked Agamemnon as one of the like lead posters. But it's also, I think, a choice that when they stripped him down, they had somebody with the body of Benny Safdie, because you're like, oh, you might be expecting The Rock or John Cena.
Yeah, no, but this is a guy who like he's protruding these things. Like
Right.
he's performing in a way, and he's not actually that clever, cool guy because he gets killed by his own wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's interesting that, like, again, to me, he was standout, but not to the point of the others. So when you picked him, it got my brain going even more. But no, I mean, I loved what he did in the movie.
Yeah.
Before we get into our ratings, do you have anything else to say?
No,
About
I
the
just
Odyssey.
I mean again, this is like a 10 out of 10 across the board in terms of filmmaking and passion and all these things and how it was made, and it's such an amazing story. I just could have used a bit more from the performances and a bit more emotion in the writing, and this would have been a 10 for me.
Where do you think this works for Nolan as a script? Because he gets a lot of shit.
It's one of his. I think it's like emotionally one of his weaker ones, and it could have used a bit more. And what's sad about that is because it's not like Tenet where it's so emotionally unavailable. There's like
Yeah.
the crumbs in here. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But then if you look at Oppenheimer, it feels like that's Nolan bearing his heart to the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think a major upgrade, especially coming, Tenet is most recent in my mind, is his sound mixing. Like this movie, like Nolan gets that criticism sometimes. Like it's hard to understand his characters or hear certain things taking place. That Poseidon scene felt like when you're on like some 3D roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you feel the stereos of a monster screaming in your chest.
Yeah.
Like I saw my mom during the second screening. I saw her like reacting to that.
Dude,
she
like
was,
there
grabbing
were some
herself.
points where I felt like covering my ears. It was so loud. It was
Yeah.
so loud.
So I feel like, because I remember seeing Tenet scene with my buddy Jay, and like during the most, I was like, I don't fucking hear. I cannot understand what this movie
Yeah.
is now. Like it's just there were scenes where people are talking, it's too loud in the background, or somebody's they're just not clear with what they're saying. But I thought this was sound wise. You know, he had the Bane issue. Where,
For
he
like
had to
how
elevate.
for how loud this movie is, it is impressive how easy it is to understand.
Yeah.
For
I
how
agree.
loud it is, that is impressive.
Yeah, I didn't really struggle on like what that person say.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Bane, but there's moments where you're like when he's like hit it at the time of underneath the what's it. I was like, the fuck. Like it took me until the second or third time to figure out what he was saying without subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna give this movie. I feel like I'm not done thinking about it like anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like right now I'm giving this a 9. I want to say 10, but I feel like 10 is like a forbidden number.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll say 9, if not 9.5. Like I really love this movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this an 8.
Okay. Well, it's still a good fucking rating.
Yeah,
And that's the
seriously.
thing. Even some of the mixed reviews I've seen, and not to get, I don't know, shut up after this, not to get too far into it. When a guy like, if you're familiar with Ben Shapiro,
Mm-hmm.
is still saying this is extraordinary, like even people who could say, well, the movie was woke or the movie was this and it spoke to too much of that, but he can still say, but it was extraordinary. Like even some of the mixed reviews and reviews that come with some hate can't deny like that this movie is fucking extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a really good to great fucking film. So
Exactly. It is an extraordinary film.
yeah. So do you plan on seeing it 70 millimeter?
If I can get around to it, I'm not like dying on the hill too, though.
Yeah.
I'm not
I want
dying
to.
on the hill.
I want to head to the city to see it. New York City, that is.
I hear you.
So, well, coming up, we've got some discussions regarding some other movies we've seen. We'll throw in our little Evil Dead burn. It's somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
We've have a screener to go over that we were sent by a cool like indie horror studio,
Yeah.
I guess you could say. And I definitely think, as I texted you this morning, we should do some trailer reaction talk about Dune and the Avengers trailer.
Yeah.
So, because I always love your Marvel rants. And eventually we got
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm gonna say. If you want a Marvel rant, we have a new fucking Marvel movie coming out in like less than 2 weeks. So
We do. We can pretty much do Spider-Man and Avengers Doomsday trailer reaction and the whole thing. And we have Comic-Con coming up. So the news is going to come. And on a side note, check out that new Clayface trailer. I watched it like an hour before.
I will.
Wow.
Okay.
Like, I'm fucking pumped for Clayface.
All right.
I'm rambling here. Sorry.
No, you're
All right,
good.
so-
No, I'm excited for Clayface.
Big time. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. What are you gonna do?
I bowed out and like waited for you to come on real quick. There's like 3 seconds where you were just looking ahead.
I was like, huh?
Is he gonna say something? So, all right, everybody. As for now, I'm Bill Markey.
I'm Tommy Angelo. Thank you guys for watching. Be well.